Easy.
All right, so Bloke's podcast number 5 with Jarret, MMA fighter, undefeated, 5-0 now, is it?
Yeah, 5-0. Yeah.
And we got a fight on May 29th.
Yeah, a bit over, a week, yeah.
Yeah. So just give the community a rundown about what you do and who you are, just so they know.
Yeah, so my name's Jarrett Wilbraham, and I grew up in a town called Nowra. It's on the south coast of New South Wales, and it's about a population of 30,000 people. So you could say, like, everybody kind of knows everybody, but it's still big enough that, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those towns. So growing up, good life, like lived in the bush as a kid, like with my brothers. We had that just boys will be boys sort of upbringing. Got up to a lot of mischief, up in a lot of trouble, but like we were good kids in a sense. And then like how I really got into fighting would be I had a really hard time through my teens, like from 16 onwards, kind of got out of a relationship that was pretty horrible, had me in a dark place, and the events that led from that just got worse.
Yeah.
From the person I was with, they ended up with a new partner. He didn't like me, and like my life went through from that point, 16, pretty much to 23 years old, was just like a lot of violence. I ended up defending myself for the first few years, and then developed a bad name for myself in the town that I lived. And from that point, it was just like more fights.
Yeah.
And I started to go into kind of like a downward spiral in just my attitude towards life and people in general. I got very like paranoid, like through the whole process of it. I ended up with like my nose broken like 3 times, broken jaw, broke my like knuckles.
Jeez. Was that from the fighting and getting into those
from
conflicts?
Just getting in conflicts.
Yeah.
Broke my orbital bone, like in my eye, and I ended up getting in. I'm not going to say I got in trouble because I didn't do anything wrong, but my brother and I both got like jumped by a whole bunch of guys.
Yep.
And we ended up in like court because of it. And I ended up in court because of it. Well, I got off. They knew I was innocent. All my court costs were paid for, but like I was looking at an affray charge and had been in trouble before that too. So life wasn't looking real good, and I just thought I need to make a change. Like I can't stay in this dark place. And that's when I started to get into martial arts. One of my mates, he wanted me to start for a long time because he'd seen me get into like fights and into trouble and wanted to drag me out of it. And once I started that, met my coach, he really guided me because he explained like, mate, you're getting in these fights, you're not starting these fights, but you're not controlling the variables in your life. Like you're putting yourself in these dangerous positions. You're going out to these parties that are down at the river or out in town, or you're rocking up at pubs in different towns. You don't know who's there. What do you expect's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I was like, mate, like, I hear what you're saying. You're right. Like, I kind of looked at my whole life from a different perspective. And that's when I just put my head down and really dove into martial arts.
Yep.
And
how long ago was that?
And it was only about 6 years ago. I was like 23 when I got into it. The first gym I went to, I actually just dropped into a gym and told them that I wanted to fight straight away. And they said, you need to train for at least like 4 years.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
4 years, yeah. And I said, I'm not doing that. So I left, went to this other gym, and literally it was like, I just want to fight. And my brother was fighting as well with me. And 10 months later, I had my first pro fight. Like 10 months of training, and I went into like a 4-man eliminator. So for a title, you fight twice on the same night, and I ended up winning the pro title. So
Nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
which I was shocked about. They told me that one of the guys was hot favourite. He was going to win. He's a veteran, been training his whole life. Brown belt in jiu-jitsu, 30 amateur boxing fights, and like 10 MMA fights, and I managed to get the win over him in like the 4th round after he was just dominating me the whole time.
By finish?
Yeah, I choked him out.
Oh, nice. So that's your only sub on your record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, that's my sub on my record. And that was the moment that my life changed, because everyone was like, you're good at this.
Yeah, and that's probably when you realise I can actually do this, not...
Yeah, and I thought, I knew I could fight, but I was like, what am I good at?
It's a confidence switch.
Yeah, but they're like this sport, you know.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't even looking at it like a sport. I was just thought it was like a funny thing. Like, I like to fight. I'm going to train up, do what I have to do to fight properly, and then all my mates are going to come and watch me, and we're going to get on the piss afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, even in that final fight, I just wanted it to end, because I was like, man, I want to go party with my mate.
Yeah, that was impressive to see how much ground control time you got off him. So you're also very big in wrestling?
Yeah, wrestling's a big thing of mine. That's when I started. I was straight into wrestling.
Yeah.
My first coach was like heavy on wrestling, and I just love it. It's just tough, and
Yeah.
you know.
So even some judo throws in that last fight I saw.
Yeah. I like that you picked that up. Now the new, because I moved up here to Queensland to train and fight. My new coach Vince Perry, he's been really big on the upper body wrestling.
Yep.
So the mixture of like the freestyle wrestling and now with the upper body wrestling is just like kind of a complete package, and good to know. And
so talk me through, what does it feel like after a fight? So in that last one, you TKO'd him. Then what does it feel like immediately afterwards, and like the day or so after? Like what goes through your head? Are you happy? Do you feel like, I don't know, not sorry for the bloke that you've just like pummeled on the ground, but like, if you know what I mean, sure that's like an awkward feeling? Or obviously I've never experienced it.
Yeah, the first few fights that I had the feeling was just like extreme happiness and achievement, and like, wow, I just did something that I didn't really expect myself to do. And even, when it comes to the empathy side, I would like go home or go back to the hotel, get in the shower and like burst into tears, to be honest.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Because I felt sorry for the guy that I fought.
Yeah.
It's this big build up. You're thinking of this guy for 12 weeks every day.
Yeah.
You're having bad intentions towards the guy. And then you finally meet him. You kind of see that he's probably a good dude, but you don't care about that. And
just on the same trajectory as you, it's just your paths have got to cross.
Yeah, he's a stepping stone in your way, and then you treat him like that when you're in the fight, and then immediately afterwards you see the sadness on his face, and his mum comes up and is like, you beat my son, and you're like, man, you know, and it's heavy, and you feel bad, but then like this last fight, I guess, now that I'm pursuing this as a career, full-time job, like I've moved up here, I live in a van so I can afford to train full-time. Otherwise I couldn't do it any other way, especially on the Gold Coast. But I knew that this fight was just something that I had to just get done, get over with. I've been calling for fights for so long, so as soon as I finished the fight and ended, it was just nothing. Like I didn't feel happy. I was just like, okay, that's just one tiny little step in the job that needs to be done. When I'm making a lot of money and a career and supporting my partner and people around me, then I'll have time to put a smile on my face. But now it's like put my head down and just go to work.
Just fucking dialed in. So what's the end goal? The end goal is obviously to get a call from Uncle Dana, or?
Yeah, that's the end goal for sure. I don't care how I have to do it. I think that a lot of these other guys, they're kind of sitting back and cherry picking and taking their time. But I've been saying for like a year and a half now, I've been saying I want any fight. It doesn't matter who it is, like the toughest fights. That's the shortest way to the top. That's what I've been trying to chase, and I haven't been able to get matchups, and fights have been falling through.
That fucking sucks, because that's literally food getting taken off your plate.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. And then I've got like guys like the bantamweight champion of our division. It's like he won the belt and then went down to the flyweight.
Oh, really?
For the flyweight belt. And I'm like, well, now you're holding up the whole division. And like you're taking what I need. Like I need that belt so people want to fight me.
Get some name recognition out there and get to the next step.
And then living in a van and dieting, like you get this chip on your shoulder. I do have a chip on my shoulder about a lot of things. But that just pushes me and gives me like that internal fire and anger to just want to fight.
So it was almost like as you were growing up, all that anger that you probably had from that point of being 16, you're now channeling it to the right thing.
I think it started before that mainly because like after my parents had a divorce, and that was kind of hard, and we were doing like a shared care thing, but it wasn't long, and my dad had a new partner, and like a new family moved into our house.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I became this real bitter person, because I was like, who are these people coming into my house different from me? I just didn't like it. I'm like, this is my mum's house. And I started to like be very horrible to the son, who was the same age as me, in the same year as me, at the same school as me.
Yep.
And I used to just hound him and put as much shit on him as I could until he arced up, and then like fight him.
Yeah, right.
And I fought him heaps, and I was real resentful towards his mum, and it turned me into this just bitter, argumentative, ego-filled person.
Yep.
And moving through life, I really didn't like who I was. And then after, like, all this was swept under the rug until I turned 16 and started to become like violent again, because I wasn't violent from that point. As a kid, there was a middle area where I wasn't violent. And then when all this stuff started to happen, all these feelings came to the surface, and I realized I just hated myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like this is something that I haven't talked about before, but it wasn't until one of my mates came up and said, like, here you go, he gave me a bag of mushrooms.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, well, all right, I'll take these. And like took them one time, like as a recreational thing. And I was like, thought to myself, like, these aren't recreational. Like there's something else about these that I think can help me. And I ended up taking what you would call like a heroic dose one day by myself. I walked out onto the beach early morning, and I took like 4.5 grams of these real potent mushrooms, and it was like 24 mushrooms or something like that.
Holy.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I started to walk up the beach. Anyways, this story could drag on long, but I won't go through the long part of the story. Some weird things happened, but I just got to this point where I just felt so absolutely connected to like the whole world around me, and I regained this passion and this feeling of gratitude that I didn't have after I went through this big trip and looked at everybody in my life and seen life for what it was. I realized I was looking through it through the wrong filter. And like, I remember as I came out of it, I was just so happy that we have so many hours in just a day, like just the simple things in life. But as I kept using these as a tool to get better, each time it started to get like darker, and the trips became like hard to deal with, and started bringing things to the surface. And one day I found myself having like you'd call like a bad trip. Again, I started on a beach, and the tide came in. I was forced to walk onto like a populated beach, and then I was like around people, and I ended up like running and getting like so emotional, and like crying for hours about my life and all this. Like, it's like I purged this just shit out of me, like these horrible things that had built up in me over the years. And I realized, like, I don't like who I am, but for the first time I could see that was separate from me. That was, situations have put that onto me. And not so much that was who I was as a person, rather life is like an artist, and the things that happen to us are like the brush, and we're like the paint, the picture that it paints. I seen it like that. And from that moment in time, I was able to disengage with that part of myself. And that was the moment where I could say, you don't have to be that guy anymore.
Yeah, right. You almost take it into control yourself.
Fully just took it into my own hands, my life into my own hands. And from that point, I started working at getting better and better and better as a person. At one point, it was like trying to get better was hard because I started going back the other direction. I become like spiritual. I became very spiritual. But then I became spiritual in the sense that for so long I was, in my eyes, not a very nice person. So I was trying to like put out there that I was a really good person by being so spiritual and stuff like that. But that was just like, I think people call it like spiritual ego. I had that for a long time, and I was still very opinionated, and that's when I like as I went on and started training and fighting and becoming more professional as a person, I started to disengage from that sort of mindset, and I started to realize life is about giving to other people and just being like a good person, and I stopped talking so much and being so opinionated and really started listening to people.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What was the like when you were going through that troublesome stage and you were getting in trouble, getting in fights, what was it where you were like, holy fuck, like I need to stop this, otherwise I'm going to ruin my life? Because I feel like a lot of people go through that and they just go down that dark hole of drinking, drugs, partying, just trying to escape. What was it that clicked?
Well, that was it. It was at the point where I realized I think I had like PTSD.
Yeah.
I would rock up to any place I went, whether it was for dinner, to go out for a few beers. I would park my chair against the back wall because I knew that nobody could come up behind me and smack me in the back of the head if I was parked up against a wall.
Yep.
And I was drinking every weekend. If I didn't drink, I would have this feeling inside of me of dread, and I just didn't know what to do with my life. And it was like borderline felt like I was going to have a full-on like anxiety attack or like a mental breakdown. So I'd go and drink and just forget. But it was this feeling of like, it was like myself trying to say, you can do better with your life. Like get out of this mindset, like escape this trap. And that's it. Like I just was, it was a downward spiral. Everyone around me could see it. I just talked to one of my really good mates the other day. I haven't talked to him in a while. He's been traveling the world, and he's like, man, we didn't know if you were going to make it to 25. Like if we could have bet on it, you wouldn't.
Oh wow. Fucking hell. Yeah. That's deep.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm from like Nowra, and everyone thinks of it as like, yeah, it's Nowra, but even he was saying, he's like, no, that's a hard place, man. Hard place to grow up, and especially for you, it was pretty hard. So it feels good to come out the other side. Like things still affect me, which I didn't realize. But I parked up at like the river. There was all these kids drinking, like young kids, and I just went in to use the public toilet. And when I was in there, I could hear all the kids outside. Like this was only like 6-8 months ago. And it must have brought back like the feelings that I'd have of being in those situations. I got like seriously worried that like someone was going to come in and like hit me with a bottle or something. I went back out to the car and said to my partner, like, this stuff like has affected me. Hey, like as much as I bury it under the rug, it's still there.
Yep.
I don't even know now if I feel that through psychedelics, I've definitely dealt with it. And without it, there's no way I would be who I am now. I would be, I don't even want to think about where I would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable.
When I went through like my mental health battles, I was so lucky that I had the family I had. So mum and dad, I could call up dad in the middle of a panic attack and be like, hey, like this is what's going on. This is what I'm feeling. Like my brothers were all supportive, sister, her partner, and probably the most supportive was my girlfriend. How does your girlfriend, how do you guys deal with it in the relationship? Does it impact the relationship now with some of the struggles and the backflashes and flashbacks rather?
Not so much, I don't think. I think I really do have a handle on it in this sense. There are some times when I feel I need to be alone.
Yeah.
And I think she understands that I'm a person that really needs to be like alone a lot of the time.
Yep.
A lot of people want to reach out and talk about their problems, but I need to go into a shell first and deal with it myself to understand it and then talk about it.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing about like being a bloke or a man is like we talk about our problems a lot.
Yep.
Like that we have the ability to come up and as well and chat about it, where like I was talking to someone yesterday and they were saying women aren't so much like that, I guess. I think they will go and they just want to talk and someone to hear it, but not necessarily need the advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost switched in the last few years, I reckon, as well, and how blokes can talk to their mates if you've got the right mates around you.
Yep.
So it's just important to find those people.
Oh, it's so important. And I think for me, it was my fighting helped me a lot because it was my ability to be like, I'm allowed to not be okay. Like I'm allowed to cry.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, who's going to stand there and say, oh, you're a sook? Like, to to me. I'm like, I know I'm not. Like, I can prove it to you.
I fight for a living.
Fight for a living, but I think the thing about being a man is being in touch with their emotions and being able to say I'm not all right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, I feel.
And it's so important to be in touch, because when you lose touch, it's when you kind of lose yourself in a way. And I've had that multiple times where I've lost touch with my emotions, and then out of nowhere I just flip out. Like, not as serious as like a panic attack, I wouldn't say, but you just lose yourself and then you get stressed out about little shit, and it just spirals out of control from there. But something else I wanted to touch on for fighting, how important is it to have that, like you said, your partner obviously, and then your team? How important is it to be in touch with them on an emotional side as well as the physical side? Like, do you have a personal like relationship with your coach as well?
For sure, like a very good relationship.
Yeah,
definitely, very like close relationship. It is very important. It's what you go through is a very emotional roller coaster, and it's hard. And there's days where you go in and you suck at something. And you need people that can pull you out of that hole and help you out and help you get better. And that's the most important thing. And like you're saying, Lewis, like you're so lucky that your girlfriend is there to help pull you out of that hole. And I'm blessed that I have Michaela. Like, she's the best woman I've ever met. But some people just don't have that. And I think what you guys are creating is that ability for people to find that tribe that they need. And exactly the word tribe in itself is a smart thing, a smart way to look at it, I think, because I think the problem we've got with blokes is over thousands of years we've been out in the wild, like as a tribe, and we'd hunt, and it was all about survival. And suddenly we come to the end of this timeline for this tiny little bit of existence. We're like living in houses, we're in like society where we go down to the grocery store and we get groceries. We don't even have a purpose really. Like our purpose is now gone, but we still have the animal instinct within us. It feels like we need to like do more, and I think that's where like ADHD and anxiety and stuff come from, because I was told I was ADHD and they wanted to put me on medication as a kid, and my mum was like, no way. Like, I was on a lead and stuff, like I was meant to be. I was one of those kids. But I think it's just a lot of like men, our purpose is to be like providing and doing something, and then suddenly life becomes too easy and we're like, why do I feel like this? Life's so good. And
well, to take it to a different perspective, talk to me about like the business side of fighting. Obviously you're in the eternal promotion at the moment. How's that work out for you? Obviously would I be like safe to say you're young in your MMA career, or is it maturing? Or
I think compared to everybody else, super young. But the work that I've put in to get myself to where I am is just hours and hours and hours on end. I know now that I've caught up, if not ahead of some of these people that have been around.
So you reckon you're confident against the champ?
100%.
Good man.
And would you say it's a daily training all the time? You going every day?
Multiple times a day.
This is the problem with me. It's like most fighters, when they get into fight camp, it's about ramping up training, up training. I've noticed for me, it's like less training. Because I'm always doing so much. Like Monday, I do like 6 hours in the gym. And then...
What sort of work does that entail, the 6 hours?
So I'll go in and I'll do like hour and a half to 2 in the morning, doing like technical work with the coach and the team. And then I'll leave there, go and do like a strength and conditioning workout for like an hour and 40 minutes. And then Michaela and I will go back into the gym and I'll drill like whatever I want to work, whether it's like stand-up stuff or grappling stuff. And I'll be in there for hours, and then it will be like 5 o'clock will come around. So in between, I'm just having something to eat and back in the gym. And something to eat back in the gym. And then I'll do like wrestling for an hour and then 2-hour jiu-jitsu session.
Fucking hell. How does the body deal with that?
At first, it's like my knees went and everything, and I didn't do strength and conditioning at that point. I didn't even know about that as the sport. I come up there so like, I just want to learn. I just want to get to UFC. And then I was thrown into this world of how the professionals do it. And I start working with like a dietitian, a strength and conditioning coach, and I put my body through so much that at first it was like, I'm going to die, but then it adapted to it. And like everybody says that the way that I train is just stupid and you can't maintain it. But I've been doing it for 2 years now and I feel pretty good. And as I say, I get closer to the fight, I ramp back on the volume and I up the intensity.
Yeah, well, you don't want to have your best days in the gym when your fight's next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's
Like-
sorry, you go.
I had my hardest session, my last hard session today, where I went and killed myself in the gym. So now it'll be cruising and maintaining the fitness towards the fight.
Yeah, right. Okay.
What's the fight game like in Australia at the moment in terms of the business side of it? Is it picking up?
Business side is in money.
Money and promotional stuff and
how
people
big it is
getting
in
in the
general.
game.
There's no money.
Yeah.
Maybe in boxing, I don't know. There's no money in it. I'm never going to make money in Australia.
Okay.
I make money, but I don't make money, if you know what I mean.
Not Conor McGregor money.
Yeah. But so talking about the business side of it, and I think what I have in common with you guys is we're all doing the same thing, which is trying to build a brand around who we are. So I went and had a chat to Reese, my manager, and he said, like, fighting's one part of it, but it's such a small part of it.
Yep.
Like, even with you guys, the NFT is one part of it, but it's the source of it, but it's a little part of it too.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's about, like, bettering yourself, marketing yourself, setting yourself up. So I thought, all right, what do I want to do out of this sport? And I know once this sport ends, I still want to be in the sport, but not competing in the sport.
Yeah.
So I do, like, my fight breakdown videos on YouTube. People are probably like, what the hell? But I'm setting myself up for something. I've started doing podcasts.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's an uncomfortable and hard thing to do.
Yeah.
What's
But
the podcast name? Shout it out.
The Life's Like podcast.
There we go.
Yeah.
We'll
Life's
link it.
Like.
We'll link it.
Yeah, link it. Yeah. So in doing that, I watch myself back, and I'm like, man, I can't talk properly. Like, all these little things that I'm like, why do I say that? And I try to change it, and it's hard. So I've been looking at going and doing, like, getting a public speaking coach.
Okay.
and
Oh yeah.
Yep.
do it now in my career. So by the time I get there, this guy's presentable. Maybe I can be a commentator.
Yeah.
Maybe I can be a fight analysis.
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, so
That'd be
I'm-
dope.
So where
Yeah.
do you go from? So what is the plan? Like you said, eventually you want to get the call up to the MMA. Where does it go as a fighter from start to being an MMA champion?
Yeah. So
Sorry, UFC champion.
UFC champion. So the next step is I'm trying to get into the UFC.
Yeah.
So I look at it, if I'm 5-0 now and I'm about to fight who I think's the toughest guy, the toughest fight in the country, Cody Haddon,
Which is when?
next weekend.
There we go.
Next weekend
How can
on
people watch
Eternal
it?
in Perth. On UFC Fight Pass, you can tune in.
Okay.
It'll start at about 8 p.m.
Yep.
here,
Okay.
the card, and it's co-main event. So when my last fight fell through, this was a massive growth thing for me as well. I was fighting a guy, Colby, who I used to train with.
Oh, okay.
He's out of Freestyle Fighting Gym, Alex Volkanovski's gym. I used to spar with them every Saturday. And we both knew eventually we'd fight each other, I guess. We're in the same weight division. So that fight was meant to happen, but he took a head knock in training and got a concussion.
Yep.
And the fight fell through, like, right when I was, like, halfway through fight week. So my weight was, like, right down. And, I was, like, on this horrible diet of just fat all week and no carbs.
Yeah.
Starting to feel real fried in my brain. And then first off, I was just disheartened by it. Like, I just couldn't believe it. All the work that had gone in and it had just fallen through. And I was just like, couldn't even feel emotion. I was just numb.
Yeah.
And then they tried to get me a new opponent. They couldn't get one. And they go, but we got another fight for you. And I'm like, yeah, who's that? And they're like, Cody Haddon. And instantly I'm like, book it. Like,
Yeah, right.
I know who Cody Haddon is. His fight with Ursig that was like a year ago, or I think it was last year, they got fight of the year on Eternal. Like, it was the craziest fight. And I'd watched it like 3 times before I even knew I was going to fight this
Yeah.
dude. So I knew who he was, and in my eyes, he's like the number one guy. He's like won a lot of fights at amateur. Now he's gone pro. He's 2-1, but he's losses to a guy that just went into the UFC now.
Nice. Yep.
So if I beat him,
Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Then your name's on the list.
And the other night, they called me up and say, the manager calls me up, say, can you go 5 rounds? And I'm like, yeah, of course, why? And they go, well, it's going to be for the title. They were going to strip the bantamweight champ, I think, or he was going to hand it back in,
Wow.
which no one knows about this. That's probably meant to be kept a secret, but they put it out there because they offered me that. I said yes, and then by the end of the training session, they said, oh, we're not going to do it now. So I feel whoever wins this is number one contender.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I don't want to be like these other champions that get the belt and then they just try not to fight for as long as they can. Like the belt is my ticket to just fight a lot.
Keep going.
And I've been dieting for way too long. Like my dietitian said, man, you've been in a deficit for too long. So after this, I'm going to have to fix my body for a little while. But I want to get back in there as soon as I can. And when I get that belt, I just want to go back to back to back.
Yeah.
And if I'm 6-0, 7-0, at what point do they accept me into the UFC?
Maybe get a contender series type situation.
Yeah, it's probably only 2 fights away, or 1 fight away.
How does the acceptance work? So are they watching you in Australia fighting, guys from the UFC?
Yeah, they would know who I am. They would know who everyone is. They're just kind of waiting to see what people are going to do. And now I have a manager. He works hard at pulling strings to say, check this guy out. But you got to be entertaining, and I think my style's entertaining. In my last fight, the guy was trying to grapple me a lot, and I wanted to stand and strike with him, but I ended up like grappling with him. But he was a brown belt, like got his black belt a week after the fight, so I proved that what I can do on the ground, so that was good. But I like to be more of like an aggressive, violent type of flashy sort of fighter, so I want to get in there and prove that, and then that when they see that, I think they'll be like, yeah, this is the kind of person we want in the UFC.
Fucking hell. And then does that mean you move over to the States, or can you fight?
No, I can fight here, and then they'll fly me out. Yeah.
That's mad. That'd be sick. Imagine that. I suppose that's what the dream is, right? Like to get on to be in the UFC.
Yeah, the UFC. That's it. That's what I want to do. I want to get like those 50K bonuses.
The 20K Bitcoin as well. Some shit.
I have this grand idea for what I'd like to do with my life, and it's like I'd like to have enough money where I could buy a big property, put a nice house on it, but have like big outdoor training area with mats, kind of like they do in Thailand. Like, but then up the back, I want to have like these bungalows where fighters like me that want to train full time and they don't have any money. I'll be like, come to my house, live up the back, pull your weight around the place.
And then we'll get better together.
We'll all go and make careers out of fighting. Like, I understand how hard it is. This is like the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah, right.
100%.
Like, my living expenses are so small.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What are your living expenses?
I reckon between Michaela and I, we probably only spend like $100 a week.
Wow.
Wow. Like, we treat ourselves to like a takeaway coffee once a week. That's our pleasure, you know?
Yeah, wow.
So that means you're fucking dialed.
I'm dialed in on it.
That's
awesome.
That's admirable.
Where did that come from, being able to just be so focused on it and hungry?
Yeah, so the big thing was, I think in life, a lot of us say, like, we can sit back and I could have quit at 4-0 and I could have said, I could have been in the UFC, and that would have been my claim of fame that I could speak about all the time at the pub.
Yeah.
When I'm sitting at the pub, because I'd probably be sitting at the pub.
We've all met a couple of those guys. Fucking don't know about the validity of some of those stories, but
I think it's a fearless thing to say, no, you know what? I'm going to give this 100% and I'm going to tell everybody I'm giving it 100%. So I either make it, or if I fail, I can say to you all, I gave it everything. I left no stone unturned. Mm-hmm. And when I made that conscious decision that I'm going to give it everything, I made sure that I did. Once I quit my job to train full time, I treat it like a job. I treat it like I'm at work and I'm working for a boss.
Training six hours a day.
Crazy.
Fucking
trying to put the work hours in.
That would have been daunting, being like, nah, I'm done with the work and this is now my life. Like, it's almost going out on your own in a business as well and just taking that risk.
It was 100% like that. Yeah. I was lucky that my partner supported me on it like she does. She still works, but with our lifestyle, like, she can just work a few hours in the night, like the afternoon. She works at like 12-round boxing gym holding pads.
Oh yeah.
So I got like a pad holder as a
partner. Yeah, that's fucking
that's good.
Your team.
She comes back from work, I'm like, get back on the pad.
Yeah.
So is there a part of you that really believes in manifestation? Like, are you manifesting the life you want to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel that I am really connected to what's going on around me. Like, things happen that I can't really explain.
Yeah.
For instance, like when I was fighting Colby, I was listening to a podcast by the fight dietitian, and someone rang him with a question. This was before I knew I was fighting him, sorry. and the message was from Colby Thickness. So I was like, oh, Colby, I used to train with him.
Yeah.
And then my phone rang, and I picked it
fuck
up, and
me.
it was my manager, and he's like, I got a fight for you.
Yeah.
And he was like, Colby Thickness, and I was just
Wow.
like, boom.
Yeah.
If that isn't like the
Yeah,
universe,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
here you go.
Yeah, no, I have a similar story actually. Sorry to butt in.
Yeah.
But with my 2 jobs, I went for a job interview at the start of this year, got my job. And you know that weird song where it's like, I don't know, some cliche song that's always on Nova. Anyway, it was playing while I was on the way there, and I got the job. And then I went for a second job interview to like upgrade. And then that fucking song came on, and I was like, I fucking got it.
Weird stuff like that, eh?
Easy.
Song.
And I was like, that's fucking insane. Yeah, sorry, I just
No,
sidetracked
that's
that.
it. No, you can't explain it.
And I knew, I was like, I'm going to get this fucking job. Like, it's just going to happen. Then a day later, got the call, and I was like, yeah, good. So yeah, it's crazy how manifestation actually works. And Jackson, I know, is a huge proponent of it. You love it too, Lewis. Yeah. And it's something when you first hear about it, like I was like, fuck, no, that's bullshit. But it definitely does work.
Well, you can trick your mind into literally thinking you're gonna.
I know.
Yeah.
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 Do you ever walk into the ring and you're like, I'm fucking scared, or not?
No, so it was a big learning process. The first fight that I had of the night, I walk out to my pump up music, and I'm like G'd up trying to fight, and I get in there and I'm fighting like a madman.
Yeah.
Like, got the fight. They named me like the wild man after that, which I'm not anymore, because I'm not a wild man when I fight now. But that's how I fought. I go in, I'm like, from the bell to the end, I'm going to finish you. And then the second fight that night, I walked out and I was like calm, and then I was like, what are you doing? Like, G up.
Yeah.
Like, you're about to get in a fight.
Yep.
And I thought that was wrong to feel that way. But then for this last one, I actually went and took like a little mushroom trip by myself before this last one. And I come to the realization, I was like, I can't control what he's going to do when I go in there, and I can't control the outcome. If I lose, why would I worry about it now? I'll wait till I lose before I'm going to worry about it. All I can do is just go in there, do what I've got to do. And when I walked into that fight, I'm not joking, it was the weirdest thing, because I had no adrenaline, no anything. Even walking out, getting in there, leading up to it that day. Like, I probably got more adrenaline now just talking to you boys than I did. And it was weird. It was really weird. I walked back out, I was like, I felt nothing.
Wow.
And leading up to this one, I feel nothing even more. Like,
Yeah, right.
And I honestly attribute that to all the bad confrontations I got into when I was younger. Because now if I look at it, first fight that I ever had for the first time in my life, I was like, hang on a second. I'm locked in this like safe padded cage. There's a referee who's going to drag the guy off me if he does leave me unconscious. I have a mouth guard in, and no one's going to come up behind me and like jump on me when I'm on
You're more
hit the
safe than
ground.
there,
I'm
then.
more safe than I've ever been. I was like, I've never been so comfortable in my life, really, in a violent situation. So now each time they just get easier and easier, and I don't worry about the outcome, to be honest. I just put in the work, and I know that if you give everything in life and you give it 100%, there's no way you can fail.
Yep.
If I knew in the back of my mind I wasn't putting in the work, I'd have doubt. And then I'd be thinking about the doubt when I walk out to that cage, but I won't be thinking that.
Yeah.
Maybe he will, like if he hasn't put the work in, but I know that I've given it everything.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the same with you boys, with this project. Like, just give it everything. There's no way you can fail, you know?
Yeah. How does the UFC feel about the psychedelics?
I don't think they worry too much about it. I think a lot of fighters speak about it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue in terms of the
No, it's not an issue.
sports performance
'Cause
stuff?
when I talk to people about like ever mentioning it, they're like, man, like psychedelics, like Joe Rogan, like all the UFC fighters get on his podcast and talk about psychedelics. And
Yeah, it's interesting how the world's shifting in that perspective, if it's going to be beneficial to people's minds and obviously your experience.
Yeah.
it'll be legal soon. It has to be.
Yeah, and you hear about the microdosing that's going on in Silicon Valley, where
The
they
benefits it does.
Yeah, just the creativity that it sparks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, as long as you do it right, so it's about set and setting, which is you set your intention for what you want to get out of it, and then you make sure you're in a safe setting. You can't be in any danger. Like, to overdose on magic mushrooms, you have to eat over your body weight.
Oh, wow.
And I still don't think you can. Like, it's not toxic. It could be dangerous for people if people have like some kind of like serious mental illness,
like underlying
mental
illness.
illness.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be governed because then it's safe. So I
Yeah.
think if they legalize it and work with people, because it's the only thing that you can give it to like someone who's hooked on drugs, a drug addict their whole life, and they have one big, they call a mystical experience and never touch the drug again. No withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like ayahuasca and stuff like that, they use that.
Yep.
Like what else can they give you at the doctor that's like, here, take this, you won't be addicted to the drugs.
Nothing, because they'll give you something and you'll probably be addicted on that. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Pick your poison.
We were chatting earlier when I first reached out to you, and I told you we were in an NFT space, or we're an NFT project and getting into the crypto and NFT and metal world space. You've provided us in the community like a hell of a lot of information about your life and how you've gotten through sort of things. Is there anything you want to chat to us about with, or questions you've got around the space?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I was interested in, one of my mates was telling me how NFTs can work is like, say somebody's got this grand idea that they want to pursue something, but they don't have the money to fund it. They kind of can create an NFT program, is that right? And then around it, it's like, if you get a group of, like, say you guys, and everyone's working towards one goal, and then as a community as a whole, it propels you forward to work towards that goal. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, so I think that's definitely right. Whoever your mate that said that, it's true. So I like to think of it like it can be used in that way, and it's kind of similar to us. Like, we don't have enough money to necessarily run a business from scratch up and like give people value. So what we're doing is making people pay for our NFT, and we're going to use, it's kind of like a startup. Like, we're having all the money, it's like a startup fund, because you know, like in the real world, people like get investors to start their business because they don't have enough capital to start. So yeah, 100%, it's like that, where we're basically the people that are buying our project when we release, is basically they're funding our project to start it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's like that initial capital, say to 50K, to do the basics of the stuff that, say, we're doing with actually getting the NFT up and running, the project, getting the website set up, and then you get once it's minted, it comes into the wallet, and then it's kind of like raising capital, as Jack said.
Yeah.
And then ours is like a membership thing, so like you can only have access to all of our stuff if you hold it. So it's basically like an exclusive membership, basically. Yeah.
Right, awesome, man. I was like, because I was really wanting to get into it, and then I heard something about like OpenSea, right? Is that where you buy NFTs?
That's the marketplace.
Marketplace. And then as I went to go in, someone's like, "Don't use the app. Make sure you use the desktop. Like you get hacked or something." And I was like, "All right, now this is kind of like putting me off."
Yeah,
so I think it's a scary thing. It's like to dive in without guidance is a scary thing.
And I think that's why it's not so popular yet, because I don't know if you're familiar with the whole like reason why crypto is a thing. So crypto, the whole idea is to be like decentralized, right? So that the banks, the governments don't have control over what we do. And so part of being decentralized is that there's a lot of scammers because they can take advantage of people that have. So there's a lot of safety stuff you have to do, like make sure you're not clicking the wrong links and stuff like that. There's people that are always going to try and out there to get you, but you can be safe. You can get this thing called like a ledger wallet. It just literally looks like a USB, and that can keep you completely safe from all that type of stuff. But yeah, it's just education stuff. So our whole thing's about educating people as well. But other than that, I mean, YouTube's the best friend for all that stuff as well. Yeah.
When are you guys looking at launching the NFTs or the?
Yeah, so right now we're kind of just seeing how it goes, because we kind of want to sell out like straight away. Like that's the goal. Like, because a lot of projects they'll go to sell and then they won't sell out, and then they'll have a lot of issues because they're trying to constantly sell it out and they can't do the stuff they wanted to do. Whereas we kind of want to sell out and then do everything. So we've pushed it back a lot. So we were originally starting in April, and then we didn't have enough people, and now it's like probably looking for like another 2 months, a month and a half, probably a bit less than that till we release.
Yeah, okay. So you got people waiting on a list to...
Well, so we have like a community already in our Discord. Do you know what Discord is?
I'm in the Discord.
Oh, you are? Yeah.
I just don't know how it all works.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing.
I'm only learning about Reddit at the moment.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, there's people that hang out there all the time, and basically they're just waiting on us to release.
So it's kind of like in the Discord, if I pull it up now, because this is probably relevant to a bunch of people that have either joined or looking to join, and they've got no fucking idea what it's about.
I mean, Discord itself is kind of confusing in my opinion.
I agree. So you've got like the information tab, and we'll put this up on the video too, which has got minor announcements, the roadmap. So that's what we're doing as a team. So pretty much the whole first information block is stuff that the founders and the admin team post about what's going on with the project. And then in Beefy Town, you've then got the general chat, which is kind of, I suppose it's like your social media messaging platform. So people just jump in there and just chat and connect with each other. And then there's sub channels in that. So there's the mental health one, which is
mental health one's good.
Yeah, like some of the things that people have opened up in there, and the tips and stuff that they've shared from either professional advice they've sought or just going through
literally
life
getting
as well.
heard by someone. That's if you like a lot of people when they open up about their feelings, we might not be able to help them because we're not mentors, like we're not legally qualified mentors, but just helping them out by just listening to what they have to say. And that's what our whole thing's about, is like mentorship. So we'll be getting on a bunch of mentors, like CEOs, entrepreneurs and stuff like that on our podcast, as well as our own like holder spaces. And we're just trying to mentor people in the right direction, you know, like you can take something from everyone. People are going to take stuff from your story, you know, and there's probably people might now that are struggling, and then hearing what you did and your story is beneficial for them. But yeah, there's obviously heaps of other benefits like free merch.
Alpha.
Yeah, so up and coming projects, like how to learn about them. We'll give you all the information, then you can just read it and stuff like that.
I think I was reading about Yacht Party.
Yep, we got so to finish our like kind of roadmap, we're kind of going to have a yacht party in Brisbane. How
good is that?
Because I think one of the things that's so confusing about the NFT space is there's just so much content. It's freaking overwhelming. Yeah. So the other thing that we're trying to do as well, particularly in the Alpha channel, like Jackson, he's made a decent amount of money off flipping NFTs and buying NFTs and having the right ones. So, and that's taken him years of experience of being able to do. Yeah. It's kind of taking his mind and spitting it into that Alpha channel of what projects he's looking at. Hey, you might be able to buy this for 0.5 ETH, which is however much it is, $1,500, and then flip it for 1 ETH. So you make $1,500, or it's a great community.
But then to the technology itself, like we're using it in a membership way, but then there's like people using it for like ticket services. So like obviously you have your ticket on your phone nowadays sometimes, but you know, it's a way of proving ownership on something. So tickets, what's another example? People do it for music, so that instead of like, you know, record labels, whenever a rapper or whatever, they go to a record label, they take all the money and then they pay them. Yeah. Whereas if a musician wants to just put it up as an NFT, they can take all the money, and then if anyone ever wants to sell it, they can take a percentage of that as well. So people have complete ownership of what they want. That's the whole reason why it's a thing.
See, one of the really cool ones, which is a sporting based one, I spoke to the boys about it before, and Mark Cuban's spoken about it with the Mavericks. So say, for example, the UFC, you'd buy your ticket as an NFT, and then as a part of that, say if there's a massive, like something happens in the fight and someone's knocked out, then you get that clip, the original clip from the NFT in your wallet,
and you can say,
then you're able to sell that and be like, I was at that fight, which I think is just like, that just brings the fans in even more.
Yeah, because I've seen like Israel Adesanya's got an NFT.
One of him knocking out Robert Whittaker. Yeah.
There's also one of him like going up and pretending
I haven't seen those ones.
Yeah, it's all on the Crow marketplace actually.
And then there's like Masvidal, if he's flying there. Ngannou with that big uppercut, like the UFC was selling them as well.
Yeah. So it's like adding the ticket as well, and then it automatically just gets dropped to your wallet if something crazy happens.
I mean, that's good news that if it's like I can go out and put highlight reel finishes, I'm going to get the NFT. How's that for manifestation?
Manifest it. And then you actually get recognised for it. Yeah. And then you get rewarded for it accordingly.
And your fans feel like they actually own that. If they weren't there at the time, maybe they watched it online, but if they weren't there, they feel like actually, you know, I'm a part of it now.
Yeah, it's a crazy space. Like there's just so much opportunity in the different things you can do with it. So
I think that like you see people put their little NFT as their
profile
picture, and as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh, that dude's a gangster. Like,
it's sick. Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but it looks good.
Cool guy.
Yeah,
well, a lot of people would say the opposite. It's like, oh, it's just a fucking picture,
like a flexer.
Yeah, that's tall poppy syndrome, though, man. That's what that is. It's because they don't know enough about it. Mm-hmm. They're like, screw them guys, you know.
How do you reckon you'll deal with that when you do go to the UFC? Because I could imagine there'd be a few people that will bag you and probably lay a bit of shit on you. How will you go with that?
I like it because I started to do these like highlight reels, and like some of my reels went and hit like 500,000 like views.
Holy shit! On what? What platform was that on?
Just on my Instagram.
Fuck.
Yeah, like breakdown videos.
That's sick.
But a lot of it was like I'd say something like, "Will Tom Aspinall get to be the heavyweight champion?" And then all these salty people would get on there and be like, they'd comment on my like breakdowns and be like, you know, they would just put shit on me, or they'd even be like, this song, like who would choose this annoying song? And at first I tried to defend myself. I'm like, mate, I'm just using what's trending. So hit 500,000.
Yeah.
And they were like, nah, mate, this song's trash. And then everyone's like, yeah, trash song, bro. And I'm just like, how do I look at it? Do I laugh at it, or do I like try to bite back?
No, but that's good. Let them hate. They're bringing clicks in.
Right.
That's good for you.
That's
It's
probably
working in
why
your
it did so
favour.
well. Yeah.
MMA fans are the saltiest people sometimes. Like they really are. There's like a lot of guys sitting on the couch that are like, I would have just stood up and got back on my feet.
Yeah,
That
they've never
seems
fought before
almost
in their
like
life.
so inept to me though. Like, how can I talk shit on you when you get in there and do it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how could I ever say that was a bad finish or something? You know what I mean? Like, I would never get in
Get
there.
in a ring.
Yeah, they've never put themselves anywhere close to that position.
That's actually insane that anyone would talk shit. Like, even if you're the worst MMA fighter in the world, you're still 20 times braver than me. Well, 1,000 times braver.
It might be just that they're jealous or they're just trying to get in his head. It's
legit. So
I think a lot of it just comes down to that. When you look at it that way, I started feeling sorry for some of these people.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's a reason that they're throwing around trash on the internet like that, and they don't want to be positive and inspire people. And I think that's the good thing about like the Discord group is you got a whole bunch of like-minded people in one place, and you wouldn't have any trolls on there. Like
Not in the Discord.
Not yet.
Well, we've had a few people on Twitter like hit us back with some stuff, and I caught up with an old, because I grew up in Cairns, caught up with an old mate from there, and he's like, people are laying shit on you, and I'm like, bro, like we haven't even like done anything like incredible as of yet, like for where we want to get.
Yeah.
Like imagine the sort of shit that we're going to get laid on us once we actually do
Well,
get it.
once again, good. Give us
It's that
clicks.
fuel in the
Right.
fire. I reckon it just like that's something that
Yeah.
that backs me and pushes me is like to prove these people wrong.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, oh no, we're doing a podcast. Talk so much shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
cool.
I've kind of wished that I've had a bit of that. Like, I have the biggest support network. Everyone back home that supports me. Like, I'm pumped. Whenever my fight poster goes up, I have the most comments. Everyone gets on there and backs me. I've never had
awesome.
anyone say that I can't really do it.
Yeah.
Like, I've had, like, people say little things to me. Like, I remember my coach, I was trying to get this footwork thing when I first came up. He goes, don't worry about it. You might get it in 5 years. And I looked at him and said, I'll have it by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Well, it was like a whole week of, like, nearly sleepless nights. I was in the gym till, like, 10 o'clock
Just
at night,
getting
just
it.
doing it over and over and over again. I think within, like, 3 or 4 days I had it. And he was like, wow, you learn things quick.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't. I put in, like, the hours to get it.
Yeah.
So that's what a bit of, like, doubt can do to me.
Yeah, that's one thing that shocked me. Did you see the MJ, the docu-series on Netflix, Michael Jordan's?
Yeah.
And he always kept saying that, like, this pissed me off, that pissed me off, and then that was the fuel to then go and fucking just light it up and just go crazy. And I'm like, this is like one of the greatest athletes of all time that's letting people get in his head, but then navigate it in the right way.
I wouldn't say he's letting him get in his head because it's the same as LeBron. I just saw a clip the other day, and there's one from when he dropped like 40 points from back in like 2010 or whatever. Anyway, it was like someone's wife was just sitting on the sideline. He was having a terrible game up until the fourth quarter, and then someone's wife who he had known was just starting talking shit, and it was just that extra, like, it just switching him, and all of a sudden he just went 10 for 10 or some shit like that. It's like that mindset. I personally don't know if I could have that type of mindset, but
Don't they call it the Mamba mentality?
Yeah.
Kobe.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Strong minds, hey.
yeah. Well,
Is there anything else you want to touch on with us? Any questions? Anything you want to share to the community?
I wanted to ask you about the artwork behind the NFTs. Like you were saying, it's like the cultural identities. Is that Australian cultural identities?
Yeah, so the whole kind of mindset behind it, I like to say now, we've kind of like switched it up a little bit, but this is what I tell people now is like, it's about Australian culture. Obviously, you want to kind of appeal to the rest of the world, but the way I look at it is like, we're just appealing to everyday people because I feel like everyday people need mentoring the most.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, people that have a lot of money or they're got a lot of mentors in their life, they don't necessarily need this, whereas people who are just everyday people, they need it the most, and they might not think it. Mm-hmm. So we're just kind of appeal to the everyday Australian bloke, I guess, at the same time as everyone else around the world. Just so we've got like goon bags, like durries, like stuff like that. Just normal.
Mate, everyone from now. This is our NFT, man.
Yeah,
Like
facts.
we grew up on durries and goon bags.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's what also, like, to any of the people that I know, like, link up with you guys. I'm sorry I'm talking to you guys, but these guys, like, come and get in touch with me and I'll put you onto these guys if you want to get into it and do it properly, because it's a scary thing. And I've got crypto, like I've got Bitcoin and Dogecoin and a few others, but I want to know, how do I switch it over to is it ETH that you then
ETH,
buy it?
yeah.
ETH that you buy it. So I've been wanting to do that, but I'm like, I don't know how. If I pull it, are they going to hit me for fee?
Yeah,
So
we
like,
can show you after.
Yeah, well,
But
we can
We'll
definitely.
link a clip as well for the people to see how to do that. And
And yet, if anyone wants questions, literally just ask us in the general. There's so many people there who will just tell you how to do stuff straight away. Like, there's people just want to help each other out, because the whole thing about Web3. So Web3, if you do you know what Web3 is?
No.
So Web3 is technically the third generation of the internet. So the first generation was when the computers first started happening, the first sites of like internet started happening. Then Web2 is kind of like social media, what we're in right now. And Web3 is meant to be like the decentralized, people have control. Anyway, the whole Web3 space in general, I feel like they all just want to help each other out because they want it to be a thing.
Yeah.
So everyone's just trying to teach everyone.
Love that.
There's no one like that's really negative except the scammers. They're the only people that come with it that's bad.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's shocked me as well, us talking about tall poppy syndrome before. In the Web3 and crypto and NFT world, there's, I reckon, 99% of people want to help other people get to that next level, which I think is just incredible. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, do you know, like, how much would it want to be NFTs be going for?
There's different price brackets.
Different
Yeah, well,
So-
there's so many projects. There's literally hundreds, but that one right there goes for like 50K today.
Yeah.
So
wow.
that's like the top. Like,
Yeah.
there's no one better than them. But there's ones that you can buy ones like, so the ones that on
like
crypto.com,
yeah.
so the ones that had Adesanya and stuff, you could probably buy them for like $10 and
Yeah.
you won't have to pay any fees or anything. So yeah.
And then with ours, the way that we've broken it down is, so we've got the initial one,
Yep.
0.055.
Yeah, so 0.055 ETH, so that's technically like $250, and then you can have that for the rest of your life, obviously, and then you can sell it at any point as well.
Yeah.
That's the thing as well that makes it different from like a Patreon. You know, Patreon is you pay a monthly membership, whatever. Obviously, that's annoying. You have to keep paying a monthly to have access to something, whereas ours is like one time. And then if it goes up in price, you can sell it later, right?
Yeah.
But then, so it starts at $250 minimum ours, and like top is like $450.
Yeah. Yeah. That's unreal. I'll be buying one for sure. And I've got
Appreciate
mates that are also keen. When I
Yeah.
showed them, they're like, man, this is sweet. And like, they love the artwork and the whole reason behind it, you know?
Yeah.
You're not just going in and buying this because everyone else has been buying it. Like, this is something that's carrying on in a direction.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I like about it. And you have like a roadmap out on
Yep.
the website that shows what you want to do, and you want to donate things to charity.
Yep.
It's not all just about putting money in your own pockets. Like,
And that's it. Like,
That's the big issue with it right now.
a lot of people now are
Yeah.
putting projects out and then just taking the money.
Taking the money,
But I think because we are passionate about, we've all brought our own aspect of what we want to add into the project and things we haven't been able to find in the real world
Yeah.
at probably an affordable price as well. So the mentoring, for example, the spaces, like that's something that I'm super passionate about because
Yeah.
I've been able to speak to a number of people and been like, shit, like that's benefited me so much. Like, how can we put that out to everyone else?
Yeah.
And then, so I think we're all really passionate about it. Well, I know we are.
And I think that's what we should all be able to do in life. If we find something that we love and work hard enough towards it, we should be able to make some money from it and help people along the way. That's how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Find what you love and pursue it.
That's right.
That's great advice.
Well, so May 29th,
May 29th.
Jarrett Wilbraham,
8 p.m.
8 p.m. UFC Fight Pass. I know I'll be watching.
Yeah, I will be.
And on it,
Yeah.
well, obviously we're all rooting for you, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the Beefy Blokes community will be.
100%.
Yeah. I think you'd make a great MMA commentator.
I know. I actually would. No, that's
You would. You would.
no cap. Did you hear that?
I was thinking
analysis,
that
bro?
earlier.
He's going to hold on to this now for the rest of the fucking year.
I am. I don't watch these JRE breakdowns for no reason.
Yeah.
I reckon it'd be great.
Well, you can do some voiceover
will.
of the fight as
I will.
well.
I will.
And
I'll
then we
do
can.
it.
We'll live stream it on
I was
our
actually
Discord.
so shocked to see how good you were at wrestling. And I mean that like as a great compliment because like obviously you're lanky for the division.
Yeah.
And to see this, like how tall was the other bloke? 5'6", 5'7"?
Yeah, I think so,
And he was
yeah.
trying to shoot in on you, and then you just used your hips beautifully, and then fucking threw it.
Took him down.
That was insane.
Yeah, you're not mucking around, that's for sure.
That was insane.
We're gonna live stream the fight in our Discord for everyone to watch. We'll all get around it.
Yeah, I wonder.
But also when I was watching, I was like, how fucking strong are you for 135? Just watching you absolutely throw me.
Yeah, that is.
I was
Yeah,
like, that is insane.
That's the one thing that every single one of my opponents has said to me afterwards. He's like, man, you're just so strong. Actually, my opponent was talking to me during the fight.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so when I was on the ground with him, he goes, man, you're stronger than I thought. And I go, yeah, you thought I was skinny, hey? Because when I rocked up at the weigh-ins, I was so skinny. Like,
Yeah.
my muscles deflated
Yeah.
from the weight cut.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, nah, weight cuts can be deceiving.
Yeah,
And
that's right. That's right.
So it was funny that you say that.
Yeah, well, even
I-
sitting next to you now, you're like the same size as me, and I'm like 80, and he's like, it's just insane, and obviously you're leaned out.
I think I'm just built for it. Like,
Built different.
like not like I'm skinny and tall. Like playing football when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'm not built for sport.
Yep.
But like people that think they're not built for footy, you're probably built for MMA.
Yeah.
Like my brother's like 2 frames bigger than me, fights the weight division above.
Yep.
And my coach seen him the other day and he's like, he's a welterweight. I'm like, nah, he's a featherweight.
Yeah, right.
It's just we're
Wow.
lucky to be built this way. I really do feel for guys that I'm like, I look at them and
Yeah.
I was like, you'd be a world champion, but unfortunately you're just a little bit short or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a bit of luck and I have
yeah.
a massive advantage in the body type that I have.
That's right.
Take it and use it.
Yeah.
Take it and run with it, and then
Yeah.
Yeah. Keen to see what you do.
Thanks, boys, man.
Thanks.
It's been so good to meet you and have you on.
Yeah, that was a sick chat.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on.
likewise.